Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion video. This time, we will be going over some pretty interesting results from an anime festival over in Japan voting poll that has been going on for the past week or so. This is a very well-known, popular voting where people over in Japan, or really anyone can vote on what they think is the best anime of pretty much the past year. It's the Tokyo Anime Award Festival voting. And as you can tell by the title, we have a pretty stunning anime that is in the top 10 at the moment, which I'm going to be going over. I'm going to be going over my thoughts as to why I believe it is in the top 10 and what that could mean for Yu-Gi-Oh! And what that probably means in regards to the ending of VRAINS, how VRAINS ended so abruptly, and we are going to get into that right now. So I'm going to link this down below. I mean, if you figure out the site, if you navigate the site, you absolutely can vote. But this was sent over to me by JBix, and this has to do with all of the anime that were shown between September 2018 and October 2019. It might actually be October 2018, September 2019, but some sort of October to September of 2018 to now 2019. So basically, any anime that have aired in the last year. It doesn't need to be anime that have started in the last year, just needs to be any anime that have aired at least one episode in the previous year are going to be eligible for this list. That is what JBix said over almost 500 anime, so plenty of anime to choose from, and of course, a lot of really great anime have aired during that time, right? Demon Slayer, My Hero, Attack on Titan, Dr. Stone, Fire Force, a lot of JoJo's, One Piece, a lot of very well-known popular anime. This list took place for last year, and Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS ended 52nd, so it just missed out on the top 50. At the moment, Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is in 10th place. Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is in the top 10 of the best anime that have aired in the previous 365 days, according to the Japanese fandom. This was basically my reaction when I first heard this news.
You know what? No. Well,
I mean, when JBix put this link and announcement basically in my Discord, myself and so many others were like, no, that can't be true. There's no way that VRAINS is that high. But it is. Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS actually was 9th on, I'm recording this on Tuesday, it was actually 9th on Sunday, it was 10th on Saturday, 10th on Monday, it updates every morning, and now 10th today. So it even jumped up to 9th at one point. But Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is ahead of animes like Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is in 14th, so it's got a little bit of a lead on Dr. Stone. But Dr. Stone, every time I go on Crunchyroll, man, I'm seeing advertisements for Dr. Stone. I've heard so many good things about it. The fact that VRAINS is voted ahead of Dr. Stone and ahead of a lot of well-known anime, One Piece, Boruto, is pretty incredible. And listen, I'm someone who really liked Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. I really enjoyed the show. I was always under the impression that I liked Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. I enjoyed VRAINS more than the average fan, which is completely fine. We're all going to consume media differently. But maybe I enjoyed it kind of at the level of where a lot of people over in Japan, because obviously this is a poll that reflects how people in Japan consumed Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, how much they enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. Legendary Duels I had on for a live stream a while back, and he is someone, this was actually at the last episode of VRAINS, so it wasn't that long ago. He's someone who personally did not like VRAINS. Personally, he would put Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS number 6 out of 6 for all the Yu-Gi-Ohs. But he said something very, very interesting about where he would rank it objectively without his personal biases, and here's what he had to say.
I put VRAINS as number 6 as my personal favorite, but that's out of personal enjoyment. I can look at something objectively. If I were to say objectively where VRAINS stands based on how it's written and the characters are written, I would put it 1 or 2.
Wow, really?
Absolutely, because I think it's a great show.
Wow.
I just personally didn't attach to the characters as much as I did for the other shows.
Right, and that's completely
fair.
fair.
That's personal, but
right.
That doesn't mean objectively it's a bad written show. No, it's actually really good, except for Yusaka. I feel like they could have done so much more.
They could have.
So much more.
Sure.
But it doesn't hold the show back enough, and the way that the show ended kind of shows to that. It's like it was strong. So I would put it as 1 or 2, like realistically.
Right, okay.
You know?
That's fair, man. I have a lot of respect for people who are able to remove their personal biases and their subjectiveness and view a piece of media objectively. And I thought that was kind of crazy how he personally likes VRAINS the least, but he said if he was looking at it objectively, he thinks it's the best Yu-Gi-Oh show ever, which was very surprising. I don't even know if I would agree with that, and I loved VRAINS. I'd probably have it number 2 or 3, but I guess a lot of people do feel that way objectively looking at it, because VRAINS is ranked number 10 right now for the best anime of the last year. I'm not going to really talk about whether I think VRAINS deserves to be on the top 10, because personally, I haven't seen enough anime, especially ones that have aired over the last 365 days, to give my opinion on that. But I really do want to talk about what this means. Like, what does VRAINS actually being ranked in the top 10 mean? Obviously, we can take a few derivatives from it, and I'm someone who always believes that every single thing has meaning. I think everything in life has some sort of meaning, and recently, I've heard this from probably 4 or 5 different people. They told me that, well, you know, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS was canceled because the show was not liked, and it had horrible ratings, and that's why it was canceled early. Now, there's no proof to back that up, even though some people have said it to me, or I've seen some people say it on Twitter as if it's definitive facts. And another thing is, everyone who has said this to me is someone who has not liked VRAINS, which I don't think is a coincidence. I think that's more people trying to necessarily justify why they didn't like the show by saying, yeah, a lot of people didn't like the show, that's why it was canceled, when really you have the right to dislike or like any show or any piece of media you want. But this has been a big rumor that I've been hearing about from a lot of people. And when I see something like this, the rumor and the thought that VRAINS was doing horrible in the ratings, was doing horrible in the reception, I think completely gets squashed. And there's a couple reasons. For Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS to be ranked this high, number one, a lot of people had to have seen it. You're not going to vote on a show that you have not seen. Even if you're a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game, I have talked to people who have played the card game without watching the anime. They're not going to go out of their way to vote for any sort of anime. Imagine someone at your locals that's never seen the anime, or maybe has only seen the original, is going to say, yeah, you know, I voted for Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal as one of the best anime ever. That is not going to happen. There is a decent schism between the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG community that have never seen the show and the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime community. There is a decent schism, and I've been involved much more in the anime community than the TCG community, but I've seen enough from the TCG community, and I've heard from people in my comments and stories to know that there is a schism enough where you're not going to go out of your way to vote for an anime version of the game you love, especially one that is so different than Duel Monsters, which a lot of people that have not seen the newer shows or play the card game really like the older show, really like Duel Monsters. So that gets squashed to me. I don't think this is a matter of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community banding together. I think this is evidence that there were a lot of people that watched the show. Moreover, there were a lot of people that liked the show. The Japanese fandom is not afraid to let people know how they feel about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And if they did not like Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, they would not be voting for it as much as they have been to get it into the top 10. And how do we know that? Let's take a look at Arc 5. I cannot be the only one who remembers the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 Nico Nico nonsense, where all of the final episodes of the show got tanked. The Japanese Yu-Gi-Oh! Fandom has no problem letting us know if they do not like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 for a while I think had like 8 of the worst 10 rated episodes in the history of Nico Nico, because they did not like the direction the show was going in, which was very unfair, because while I didn't love the end of Arc 5, I know many of us didn't, I think we can all agree it did not deserve to get nailed as much as it did on Nico Nico. So that community has no issue letting people know how they feel about a show. And if they didn't like Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS, we would have seen it reflected in the Nico Nico ratings, and it certainly would not be in the top 10 of the best anime of the last 365 days in this poll. So those are two things we can take from it: that a lot of people watched it, and it was a very enjoyed show. People liked the show. Otherwise, I do not think it would be near the top 10, especially considering the last time they ran these numbers, it was 52nd. I don't think you're going to get that many more people voting for a show that was just ranked 52nd unless it really improved. And to me, the last 365 days, the last year of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS was really good. I liked the final season a lot. I liked the end of the Ignis Welfare arc with Lightning and Revolver. Even the Bowman duel I thought was pretty good. And the final duels of VRAINS were really good, and I think you see that reflected in this voting. So I think this squashes any rumors that VRAINS was canceled because of low ratings, because of low viewership, because of disinterest. To me, it was a decision. We don't know why the decision was made, that the show just needed to end at episode 120. Maybe it was because they want to get Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 on a very good and upfront course, and they don't want to fall behind like they did in the beginning of VRAINS and maybe towards the end of Arc 5. That could be a reason why. Maybe they just didn't have the budget for it. Who really knows? But I do not believe in any capacity that Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS was canceled early due to low ratings. Some other anime that are on this list at the moment, Demon Slayer is number 1. No surprise there. I've seen the end of episode 19. Insane animation, and that has a pretty big lead over Banana Fish. Mob Psycho 100 is 4th. Attack on Titan Season 3 is 6th. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind is 8th. And then our own Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is 10th. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS is up there with some of the big, heavy mainstream hitters in anime. So it's pretty insane. It'll be interesting to see if VRAINS is going to fall off or maybe climb a little bit, because we still do have, I think, like 3 weeks of voting left. I think it ends in early December. So it'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. I will link this down below if you want to check out all the top 100 for yourself. But we got shows like One Piece, who, again, One Piece has a massive fandom. They're down there at 46th. So for VRAINS to be in the top 10, I think, is a pretty big deal. And I think, if anything, it's just a big deal because it shows you how many people did enjoy the show, and that this show probably was not canceled due to low ratings. Yeah, so that's going to pretty much wrap this video up. Just some cool news, a cool little poll that I wanted to share with you guys. I also wanted to give my thoughts because I've heard this narrative being pushed a little more and more about VRAINS being canceled due to, you know, disinterest and low ratings. Something like this tells me that probably is almost definitely not the case. But you guys let me know what you think of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS being ranked this high. Let me know if you were surprised as I was, and let me know what implications it could have on Yu-Gi-Oh! Going forward, and maybe the legacy of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Jordan Osceola, Smith620, FrostReaper, Jorge Leon, and Blue Maiden 28, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood and Sean, and to my Egyptian God tier patrons Joss Rivers and Melinda Phantom. Thank you all so much for supporting me on Patreon, for being a YouTube channel member. I cannot tell you how much it helps me out, and thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.